the first step in trying to create our game is to get a 3D model to be displayed on the screen. And to do this, first we need to open Visual Studio, of course. Make sure XNA 3.0 is properly installed. Try to create a new project using Visual Studio, and we are using XNA 3.0, so we are using Visual Studio 2008. From the Visual C# project types, we create XNA Game Studio 3.0 and select one of these templates, which are based on various games platforms, the Xbox 360 and Zune, which are very popular console platforms, and the PC platform, Windows games. So we will be creating one of the PC games, and this is name PC test. You can see that some of the code has been generated by the system. We have a game1.cs file which contains the main game engine and a few methods generated for us, which are overrideable in order to make sure that we update these methods correctly. We have a program.cs class which acts as the main class where Windows calls the run method of this game in order to run it. So what we first have to do here is create a 3D model, which we will be not discussing since it's something separately related, since it has to be programmed through a third-party software or written in a script manner. So what we are going to do is add a 3D model that has been already created. So we add an existing item to the content of this project. So I'll be selecting some of the downloaded 3D models. So we have added a 3D model, and also we have to make sure that we add the correct textures for these 3D models to be correctly displayed with their colors and stuff on the display. So what we do now is add a texture. That's it. And one of the key things you have to understand here is you don't have to map the wedges against the textures separately in the XNA 3.0 framework, because it is capable of identifying the textures through its naming convention. Also, we have the facility of being able to define the textures for a particular 3D model in the model's definition itself. For example, we have the textures defined here in the 3D model. So without further ado, let's try to get this 3D model displayed on the screen. First of all, what we do is set the resolution of our display device and also initialize an object which contains this model. So we do this by using the model class to initialize our model when we load the content, and we use a float value to make sure that we have the aspect ratio stored. So we initialize these two variables in the load content method. This method is one of the basic methods in an XNA game, and the load content method is capable of loading all the sprites, which are animations and textures and various other things, such as initializing the display devices and such. So we'll be initializing our model through this method by calling the content class's load method, which is a generic method, and we pass the name of our texture model, which is P1 wedge. and it has to be a string. As you can see, I have not used the extension of the model because the XN framework is quite capable of mapping the names without the extensions. Next, we get the aspect ratio, which we set through the graphics classes, the graphics objects, graphics device property, which has a viewport property, which in turn has the aspect ratio. So the graphics device is the general graphics device that is in the computer, and its viewport is the monitor, and this is the monitor's aspect ratio. So we have done the basics of initializing the resolution of our game and the model. Now that we have done the basics of adding textures and related 3D models into our application, what we have to do next is to make sure that we draw this on the screen, so which is an easy step I'll be demonstrating to you. But before we start off, I would like to draw our attention onto two specific methods that we override or change in order to make sure that we are able to draw these objects on the screen. So these two methods are the draw and the update model, the methods. So what we draw in the draw method is we basically draw whatever that is draw content such as graphics on screen. So it's basically like any other draw method that you come across in GDI plus for C#. Also, the next method of our focus is the update method. The update method is capable of tracking a game's state and the user inputs and such in order to make sure that the game is kept right on track. So I'll be editing these methods right now, and the code I'll be writing here will be really difficult for a beginner to understand if you are not familiar with a bit of mathematics yourself and certain 3D graphics such as matrices. So let me add this code for you and demonstrate each of its components.